Linnér. She works as a consultant neonatologist at Karolinska University Hospital in Stockholm. She has also a postdoctoral researcher position at Karolinska Institute. Early skin-to-skin contact in very important infants, developmental origins in health and disease, and neonatal global health are her principal areas of interest. She's going to share with us her experience in Sweden and couplet care, when you desire.
Thank you, Salvador. And thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to present some preliminary or some first primary results from the immediate parents infant skin-to-skin study. So my talk will be about cardiorespiratory stabilization in immediate skin-to-skin contact for very preterm infants. So I don't think I need to go through the literature on kangaroo mother care for this audience, but maybe you agree with me that there is a knowledge gap concerning the effects of early skin-to-skin contact immediately after birth in very preterm infants before they have stabilized. And in particular, kangaroo mother care is less studied in high-resource settings such as mine. And therefore, I think both we have an opportunity to study some of the mechanisms of skin-to-skin contact, and also I feel that it's my responsibility really to conduct studies in high-income countries, both to get results and also to show other settings that we really see this as a top priority. In our settings, all the other things are in place, so what then does skin-to-skin contact add? Hence, the IPISTO study, so the immediate parent-infant skin-to-skin study, was a randomized clinical trial. We enrolled very preterm infants plus, so infants between 28 plus 0 and 32 plus 6 weeks, born at 3 NICUs, 2 in Stockholm at Karolinska and 1 in Stavanger, so a population similar to that in Laila's study. The intervention was skin-to-skin contact with the parent, initiated immediately after birth and continued at least throughout the first 6 hours. The control group was conventional care, at the time being immediate care in an incubator and skin-to-skin contact initiated later on. So for those of you who attended the workshop, you will have seen my data from the Swedish register showing that the median skin-to-skin contact initiation time for very preterm infants in Sweden would be at 14 hours. So usually before 14 hours, there's quite little skin-to-skin contact in this age group. The outcome, the primary outcome, was cardiorespiratory stabilization as per the script score, which Niels briefly touched on Monday. So the script score, I will show you in the next slide, is a composite score describing the cardiorespiratory situation in the infant. There was a large number of secondary outcomes. For those of you interested to read more, our protocol was published in BMJ Open a couple of years ago. Today, I will touch only temperature of the secondary outcomes because it's kind of part of the infant physiology. So this is our study flowchart, and basically just to show you that we analyzed data from 91 infants, and also to show you that we informed many more mothers. So most of the mothers that we informed about the study, they ended up giving birth after 32 plus 6 weeks, luckily. Yes. And this is, some other language up there. Sorry for that. Something happens when you do presentations in Mac and then move them, but I'll read it out to you. So this was the study population. So the mean gestational age was 31 weeks, actually, and the mean birth weight was 1.5 kilos. Most of our infants were born at C-section, and a third about the population were twins. You can see, or you can't see, actually, I'll tell you that there was a skewed distribution of girls between the groups, so there were more girls in the control group, which we had to account for when we did the analyses. And you can see also the proportion of women with preeclampsia and preterm prolonged rupture of membranes here. And there are some other characteristics in the actual publication for those who are interested. So this is the script score. So for you to be able to interpret the result, let me just go through this for a minute. So we collected data at 15 time points. So we observed the infant and observed the monitor of the infant during 5-minute periods at 15 time points during the first 6 postnatal hours. So we looked at heart rate, and we looked at oxygenation being the child's oxygen saturation and the fraction of inspired oxygen. And we looked at respiration, being respiratory rate and respiratory support. So during each 5-minute observation period, we collected the worst of the parameters, and that led to the score. A score of 2 would be the optimal score, and 0 would be the poorest score. So then for each of the 15 time points, each child could have a score from 0 to 6, 6 being the perfect score, but very rare, as in our settings we place a CPAP by default on all our very preterm infants, really. So the exposure, we aimed at immediate initiation and 6-hour duration, and we analyzed according to the intention to treat, but the dose of skin-to-skin contact was a little bit lower, still good, I think, but we initiated skin-to-skin contact on a median time of 25 minutes postpartum, and the reason for that is that we had a standard operating procedure saying that if we expected the first procedures with the child to take long, then we could start off on a resuscitator to place the CPAP and the electrodes and so forth, for the reason of thermal control, really. And you can see that there was a difference between the small ones, 28 to 31 weeks, when we initiated later at 1 hour, and for the older ones from 31 to 32 plus 6 weeks, then we initiated on a median at 15 minutes postpartum. And the median duration of skin-to-skin contact was 5 hours, and the reason being partly the initiation time, but also that some infants, they had umbilical catheters, so umbilical catheters were placed in separation from the parent with a subsequent X-ray, so that took some time. And after these procedures, we brought the baby back to skin contact. So the median duration for the older infants in our cohort was 5.5 hours, and for the younger ones, the duration was 4.5 hours. And you can see here also that really this was a kangaroo father care study. We were not able to admit the mothers with the infant immediately from start. So the median duration of skin-to-skin contact with the mother was 35 minutes. So most of the time was spent with the father. And these are the results. So these results were published only this spring in Acta Pediatrica. So I'll talk you to this graph showing on the y-axis the mean script score, ranging from 0 to 6. And on the x-axis, you can see the time from birth and to 360 minutes, 6 hours. The red line represents the mean script scores in the skin-to-skin contact group, and the blue line would be mean script scores in the control group. Green bars are standard errors, and I think graphically you get the idea that the script scores in the skin-to-skin contact group are higher, which we could also show in our regression analysis. So the script score difference was 0.5 scores over the 6-hour time period. And also we could see that the slope of the curve, the increase in script score was faster in the skin-to-skin contact group. Moving on to even more recent results from Dr. Lode-Koltz, we looked at temperature. So this is a graph showing the mean temperatures between skin-to-skin contact and control. Also here the red line representing the skin-to-skin contact group. So in Carolina's paper we showed that there was no increased risk of hypothermia in skin-to-skin contact, so it can safely be done in terms of temperature. Carolina also showed that the risk of hyperthermia was decreased by 30%. So there is a bit of a difference between skin-to-skin contact and control, 0.2 degrees, but all the mean temperatures were within the normal range. And also by looking at this graph, you can see that maybe skin-to-skin contact infants had a more stable temperature, whereas control infants, they go up and down a bit as we sometimes overshoot when we change temperatures in the incubator maybe the parent co-regulates the infant's temperature, whereas the incubator does not. So, yeah, so the conclusion from these two papers is that immediate skin-to-skin contact for very preterm infants may help them through the transition. So the transition period is a challenge for all infants, and even more so in the very preterm population. So it's really dynamic, and lots of things are supposed to happen during this time. And if we take this a bit further, then I would like to say that an uneventful transition may spare the infant from stressful interventions. Being a neonatologist, I know that if a child would have an increasing fraction of inspired oxygen, then I would be more inclined to maybe do an X-ray or take a blood sample, and if not, then the infant has a higher chance of spending the time undisturbed with the parent, which in the long run would be neuroprotective, really. So with that, I would like to thank the immediate parent infant skin-to-skin contact study team. Many of them are here today. I think Niels and Björn, they will be familiar faces to you. So Niels and Björn conceptualized the study, and Björn was also the sponsor of the study. We have two principal investigators, Vibke Jonas being the PI in Stockholm, and Siren, who's here today, Rettedal, she's the PI in Stavanger. And there is me and my neonatologist colleague Stina Klemming, who will be familiar to the NIDCAP community here. And then we were, or we are actually, three other doctoral students, so Siri Liljesköld, Caroline, Lode Karlsson, Hanne, Marcus Pike, and we have three research nurses, Kerstin and Camilla in Sweden, and Kirsten in Norway, so thank you, all the group. So for those of you interested in reading more about our studies on immediate skin-to-skin contact in high-resource settings, then I would be very happy to share a copy of my thesis. I defended my thesis in June, and you can find it there at the link too, but I have some copies with me. So there's our papers and the discussion on the implications. And before I end again, welcome to Stockholm in March to the Ultra Early Intervention Conference. The theme next year will be Always Together, so welcome.